Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another broadcast of The Weekly with me, Neff. Please subscribe to the channel and share this video with a couple of friends. Helps me out a lot, and I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscriptions. Alrighty, well, remember that little movie, Fountain of Youth, that we talked about that was going to be premiering on Apple TV? Streaming directly to Apple, by the way, not a theatrical release. That's a $200 million film, so let's read into it. Guy Ritchie's Fountain of Youth faces critical wrath despite star-studded cast and $200 million budget. You have Isaac Gonzalez in this, Joseph Krasinski, and Natalie Portman, all well-liked actors, so wonder what happened there. Guy Ritchie's Fountain of Youth has finally arrived on Apple TV, and it hasn't been smooth sailing despite a bloated $200 million budget and the glossy sheen of John Krasinski and Natalie Portman playing bickering siblings on a myth-hunting world tour. The film critically landed with a thud. It sits at 37% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 41% on Metacritic. On IMDb, Fountain of Youth is clinging to a 5.8 out of 10, making it Ritchie's second lowest rated film to date. A dubious honor just ahead of the cinematic disaster that was Swept Away, which still reigns supreme at a grim 3.6 out of 10. Across the board, Swept Away remains the gold standard of what not to do, while Fountain of Youth and Revolver are now locked in a close race for the silver medal in disappointment. Billed as an adventure epic in the spirit of Indiana Jones and National Treasure, which it does look like a mix of both, it is being described as a clunky mashup of cliches, soulless banter, and action sequences edited like someone spilled Red Bull on the timeline. Critics haven't held back either. The Times UK dismissed it as a poorly executed Indiana Jones knockoff, while The Guardian twisted the knife, calling it a soulless business class yarn, which frankly feels generous. But the real plot twist? This big budget behemoth didn't even bother with a theatrical release, opting instead to quietly slide onto Apple TV. Like it's trying to sneak past audiences before word gets out. When you pour $200 million into a film and still decide it's safer to hide it behind a paywall, that's not strategy, that's damage control. It's also part of Ritchie's recent habit of sidestepping box office accountability following the lukewarm reception of The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which also flopped as well, but actually was not a bad film. It's really just like Inglourious Basterds light. This is another cautionary tale about what happens when a streamer throws a ton of money at an empty script and hopes A-list stars and nostalgia can do the heavy lifting. So, ladies and gents, what do you think about this? This film cost $200 million. Has anybody heard of the film? I talked about the trailer when it did release, but I will say marketing was pretty much tame. And you could say marketing is tame for a lot of these streamers, especially when they are not theatrical releases. Apple is running its own thing now. I would say Apple is probably more successful when it comes to original series and shows rather than films. Obviously, they had Killers of the Flower Moon with Martin Scorsese. That was a theatrical release and an Apple release, but that film didn't do what they expected it to do as well, even though it was a good quality film from Martin Scorsese, and all the acting was solid. Obviously, you had Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and a solid cast of support there. And I mean, the director, Martin Scorsese, you can't really go wrong with that. But that film, I think, cost about $250–300 million. And even with it being theatrical, did not do well at all. So when you have $200 million pumped into a film like this, it's just very tough. And as the article states, and as I stated, you have Guy Ritchie coming off The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which flopped bad. And like I said, the film was not a terrible film. I just feel like people did not go out to see it because I think it was plagued with, I've seen this movie before. Ladies and gents, let me know, have you heard of this film, and did you see this film, Fountain of Youth? Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. What do you think about this $200 million budget for this film? Does it even look like it's worth that? The locations look pretty exotic, so that's cool there. It doesn't look shot bad either, but if I had Apple TV, perhaps I'd watch this and really judge it for myself. Don't like taking anybody's word for it, especially with films like this that get critically panned, and I just wonder what's really going on with it overall. Please subscribe to the channel, share this video with a couple of friends and colleagues, let them know to subscribe as well. Helps me out a lot. Like this video and ring the bell for notifications. Be safe, it's Neff signing off.